In 2012, I was attending San, San Jacinto College, the South Campus, by the way. I was taking an animation class with a fellow friend of mine. His name was Michael Caritas. He was really skinny guy, but he had this insanely creative mind of his. I was actually really jealous of his creative skills there. So he tells me he's working on a short cartoon for the class, and he asked me to do some voices along with several other people he talked to, and I said, sure, I'm down for it. So the day I go, the day that we go down there to record for the cartoon, turns out that none of the other actors showed up, and I was the only one that actually did show up. And I was, first off, I was sad for Mike, but you know, because the other actors didn't show up, Mike just asked, do you think maybe you can try filling in for them? And I said, well, I'll try. And so we went over to his room. He had like this really cheap $5, $10 microphone because we're college students. That's all we can afford. and, and oh, let me go ahead and talk about what the cartoon was. The cartoon was called The Cactusery. It's essentially kind of like those old travelogue videos that you know, those old Looney Tunes cartoons where they had like spot gags, like it would be like one after the other, but it'd be like a National Geographic theme. His cartoon was kind of like that, except all the characters were based on different cactus plants that he had growing in his backyard. That was another hobby of mine. He liked to collect cactuses, and he had all these different species, and each one had its own little personality. So, so we start off narrating. I narrate it kind of like I do with my natural voice, and slowly but surely we start going down to eventually all the characters. I think there were about 13 or 14 different characters in this whole cartoon. I wound up voicing 11 of them. Oh God, thank you. My favorite cactus was, okay, this was really hard to narrow it down, but my personal favorite cactus was a cactus called Lachynophyne, which was this incredibly goofy looking cactus. It really looked like it was made of Play-Doh because he was incredibly elastic and very goofy, but for some reason I thought an Ed Wynn voice fit perfectly. For those of you that don't know who Ed Wynn is, he was part of our childhood, especially in old Disney movies like Alice in Wonderland. He played the Mad Hatter, or Babes in Toyland, he was the Toy Master, or Mary Poppins as Uncle Albert. I could go on and on about the man, but he had this incredibly whimsical, jovial voice, you know? Sort of, I'm trying to remember a line of Ed Wynn's that he would say in Alice in Wonderland, for example. You know, kind of like someone would ask him, what did you do today? And he would just sit around like, I was at home drinking tea. Why, today is my own birthday, you know. Like around 12 o'clock that afternoon, we started getting hungry. It was like, want to get something to eat? And I was like, sure. So we wound up taking a Burger King, and him paying for my food was my payment for the whole thing. I didn't care. This whole experience was so much fun. I'm so glad I did it. I would have done it for scale if I could have. Oh yeah, he wound up getting an A on the whole thing.